Take a trip with me to Traverse City because we are heading up north for vacation. We stayed at Holiday Park Campground, which was beautiful and sits on Silver Lake, but we didn't spend a lot of time at the campground because we spent most of our days exploring, sightseeing, and doing fun activities like rail biking. Wheels on Rails is the only company in the state that offers you a chance to ride a custom-made bike on an unused railroad track. Our group was completely booked, so there were about 40 people total, and we actually got really lucky because we were the front car. We started out next to a couple small roads that we had to cross, and the cars going by were turning their heads and honking and waving because it's definitely not something you see every day. But once you get past the roads and out into nature, everything gets very quiet and you can enjoy the beautiful scenery you pass. Our tour guide said they've seen deer and other animals while biking, but all we saw were birds. We went almost 2 miles down the track, and then there's a stopping point where everyone gets off their bike, and the guide uses a turntable to turn the bikes around to go back. Our guide gave us a little backstory about the company and about the railroad. It was built in the 1890s but hasn't been used in about 12 years, and they had to clear a lot of trees and bushes out of the way to make this possible. On the way back, we were the last bike in line, but that was okay because there was a slight incline, making it harder to pedal, but it still wasn't too bad. I would absolutely recommend doing this if you're ever in Traverse City. I love roadside attractions, so we found the River Guardian, a 12-foot tall man made out of canoes and other items to promote river protection. And then we found the world's largest cherry pie pan. The sign was certainly looking worse for the wear, but Traverse City set a world record in 1987 for the largest cherry pie, weighing over 28,000 pounds. Not far was the State Theater, a historic movie house that, even though has been renovated, gives you a feeling of the past. I absolutely love the marquee and the lights. And what's extra cool about this theater is that right outside the entrance on the sidewalk are celebrity handprints and autographs. Some of them were faded and hard to read, but it was still really cool to see. There were definitely more, but these were just a few of the names that I recognized. We stopped at a store called Rocket Fizz. It's an old-fashioned store that is packed from top to bottom with candy, different kinds of sodas, vintage wall signs, all kinds of knickknacks that were unique. But I have to admit, I went into the store because online it said they had a pressed penny machine. I asked one of the employees and they said it was broken, but they actually had a few extra pennies stashed away and gave me one. I was just as excited about the penny as I was about the stuff in the store. For dinner, we ate at Don's, an authentic 50s-style diner where you can eat in or drive up. We chose to eat inside so we could look at the decor and listen to music. It was busy, but we had great service and the food was good. The next day, we drove up to Mission Point Lighthouse. It has a unique location. It sits exactly at the 45th parallel between the North Pole and the equator. You can go up through the lighthouse for a fee, otherwise the only other thing to do there is walk down to the beach. And for how long it takes to get there, I would not recommend going unless you really like historical things. Are you familiar with the Curse of Oak Island? If so, you might recognize Maury Vineyards, owned by Marty Lagina from the show. We made a quick stop to check it out and it was beautiful. I'd never been to a vineyard before, so it was cool to see the rows of grapes growing in person. It's set on a hill, so there is a great view to look at while sipping on some wine, and we got 2 bottles to take home to try. I wanted to find the hippie tree, a supposed haunted tree containing the spirits of former hospital residents that were patients at a nearby asylum. Local legend says that spiritual visionaries, or hippies, would meditate at the base of this tree in the woods near the asylum. They would then be inspired to paint the surrounding limbs with different colors and patterns. Today, the legend has transpired to generations of locals and visitors to paint their own section of the tree. And when I found it, there were actually spray paint cans out there to add your contribution. We had a camping tradition for dinner, hobo pies. I made a pizza version and we used our cute s'mores tablecloth we just got. The next day we headed out to Pierce Stocking Scenic Drive for some beautiful views of the lakeshore and various other picturesque sights. It was very calming driving through the trees, and most of the dunes were fun to see, except for one. This particular dune is approximately 450 feet down to Lake Michigan, which may not sound like much, but the incline is so steep, and if you can't make it back up to the top, the cost is much steeper. There is actually a sign posted at the top warning you that if you need to be rescued, it will cost you $3,000. And there is actually a park employee sitting at the top of the dune in case this happens. We did ask him how many times this occurs, and surprisingly, he said only once or twice a year, and that 2 weeks before our visit, they did have to rescue someone. However, a little bit farther into Sleeping Bear Dunes was a dune I was much more confident to climb. Here's the view from the bottom. Here I am about halfway, which was honestly my goal, but once I made it halfway, I knew I could make it to the top. And I did. Here's the view from the top. Of course, no trip to Traverse City is complete without a visit to Moomer's Ice Cream. This family-owned business is an iconic northern Michigan treat. In 2016, they were voted the best ice cream parlor in USA Today's 10 Best. Their menu offers a variety of ice cream flavors as well as pies, cakes, milkshakes, and floats. You can even get a souvenir. And not only do they have great ice cream, but the atmosphere can't be beat. Right next to the store is a lookout where you can sit and enjoy your treat right next to the family's dairy farm. You can see the cows that helped make your ice cream. We got to see them just as they were going in for the evening. And behind the store is a field with a pavilion for extra seating, some good photo ops, and some baby cows you can pet. Before I knew it, it was time to head home, but not before making a stop in Reed City to see a miniature replica of the Mackinac Bridge known as the Little Mac. It's a 150-foot-long wooden suspension bridge open for foot traffic. It does move when you walk across it, but it was still very relaxing to stand there over the water for a few minutes and a nice way to end our trip. Thanks for coming on vacation with me. See you guys next time.